Y'all young boys came up in phobes, dog.
And shot the Eid up.
Shot the Eid up.
Y'all got to get crushed.
And just pull up ladders and just shooting with kids, women, grandparents. Who is raising these young boys? We definitely got to take the streets back for sure. This look bad. This is bad. At the Eid, dog, you pull up with a kafaya on, throw up like you about to praise Allah and you about to shoot somebody out here, bro.
5 shooters disrupted a holy day for Muslims across Philadelphia. Multiple people were injured as dozens of shots were fired. An officer engaged a 15-year-old who police say was armed with an assault rifle. At around 2:26 p.m., 3 people were shot during an end of Ramadan event near the 4700 block of Wyalusing Avenue. One of the wounded was shot by a police officer.
We got an active shooting going on at this time. Activate the citywide rapid response unit.
We are getting a closer look today at the panic that ensued when gunshots rang out yesterday during that Eid Al-Fitr celebration in West Philadelphia. 3 people were shot, including a 15-year-old who was allegedly armed. That boy shot by a police officer. The investigation still very active today. Action News reporter Annie McCormick live near the scene where this all happened yesterday. Annie, you've got the latest right now.
And Brian, that's right. And Philadelphia police have been tracking down leads across the city and even into Delaware County. They're having to sort through all of the video that they gathered from area businesses, also video that they're seeing on social media, as well as the body camera from the dozens of officers that did respond here to the scene.
They is all in my house.
This video posted to TikTok shows women and children running to Vernice Sloan's front porch from a shooting a block away during an end of Ramadan celebration. Police are using video like this seen on social media in their investigation.
I opened the door. It was a young lady out here holding 2 kids. Just crying, please, ma'am, can I come in? And I said, sure.
This surveillance video from a nearby business also captured the more than 1,000 people fleeing for cover after more than 30 shots were fired near 47th and Wyalusing on Wednesday. According to Philadelphia police, 2 groups traded gunfire in the middle of Clara Muhammad Square around 2:30 in the afternoon. Police believe that gunfire struck 2 people, a 15-year-old boy who was struck in the hand and another young man, 22-year-old Nashawn Richards. Richards was shot in the stomach as he tried to run away. His father spoke to us this morning.
I forgive them because I want Allah to forgive me for everything I ever did in my lifetime.
Amid the gunfire, one of the officers engaged an armed 15-year-old suspect, shooting the teen in his shoulder and leg. Sources tell Action News that the teen was armed with a rifle. However, it's still unknown if the weapon was fired. In the chaos, a teen running for cover was struck by a police vehicle and broke their leg. Yesterday, the police commissioner said 5 people were in custody, including the teen shot by police, and multiple guns were recovered.
This was the aftermath at the Eid Al-Fitr event in West Philadelphia, where around 1,000 attendees gathered to celebrate the end of Ramadan on Wednesday, April the 10th. Approximately 30 gunshots were fired during the shooting, officials say. The officer who shot the 15-year-old put him into her patrol vehicle and rushed him to CHOP, where he was placed in stable condition. A 22-year-old man sustained a gunshot wound to his stomach and was taken to Penn Presbyterian Hospital by police, where he was placed in stable condition. A 15-year-old was struck in his right finger and taken to CHOP by Philadelphia Fire Department medic. He is also in stable condition. While officers were responding to this active shooting scene, a 15-year-old girl was struck by a Philadelphia police patrol wagon. She was transported to CHOP by medics, where she was listed in stable condition with a fractured leg. All in all, police ended up taking 5 people into custody: a 21-year-old man, a 16-year-old boy, a 16-year-old girl, and 2 15-year-old boys, including the one who was shot by police. 5 weapons were also recovered at the scene. This sounds like a terrorist attack, but it wasn't. These weren't terrorists. This is the representation of the misguided, woefully neglected, and underparented youth of Philadelphia. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar and is considered the holiest month by Muslims. It is observed as a month of fasting, prayer, and reflection and community. During Ramadan, Muslims fast from dawn until sunset, abstaining from eating, drinking, smoking, and otherwise sinful behavior. The fast is intended to bring the faithful closer to God and to remind them of the suffering of those less fortunate. The practice of fasting during Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Each day, the fast begins with a pre-dawn meal called the suhoor and ends with a meal known as the iftar, just after sunset. Iftar usually starts with the eating of dates and drinking water, followed by a full meal. In addition to fasting, Muslims engage in increased prayer and recitation of the Quran. Nightly prayers, called the Tarawih, are also held in mosques after iftar. The end of Ramadan is marked by a festival holiday, which involves communal prayers, feasts, and giving charity to the poor. This celebration, also called the Festival of Breaking the Fast, is one of the 2 major religious holidays in the Islamic calendar. Eid is a term in Islam that refers to the festival or celebration, and there are 2 major Eids celebrated by Muslims each year, the Eid Al-Fitr and the Eid Al-Adha. Both Eids are significant times of celebration, communal worship, charity, and central to the Muslim community's religious life worldwide. The city of Philadelphia was shocked by these events, especially Muslims. Islam has a significant and vibrant presence in Philadelphia, a city known for its diverse religious landscape. The Muslim community in Philadelphia is one of the oldest and most established in the United States. The Muslim population in Philadelphia has grown substantially over the decades. The community's roots in Philadelphia can be traced back to the early 20th century with the arrival of African Muslims and immigrants from South Asia and the Middle East. Over time, the community has expanded to include a diverse array of backgrounds, including a significant number of converts. Philadelphia is home to many mosques and Islamic institutions that cater to the spiritual, educational, and social needs of the Muslim community. Some of these mosques are deeply rooted in the city's history, such as the Masjidullah, which is one of the largest and oldest mosques in the city. There are also newer mosques serving immigrant communities from various countries, reflecting the city's multicultural fabric. Islamic organizations in Philadelphia are actively involved in community service and interfaith dialogue. They host a variety of educational programs, outreach projects, and social services, which are aimed at both supporting Muslims and fostering understanding and cooperation with the broader Philadelphia community. Muslims in Philly contribute significantly to the city's culture and economy. There are Muslim-owned businesses, healthcare professionals, educators, and artists who play integral roles in the city. Annual events like the Islamic Heritage Festival and Parade showcase the community's culture and traditions. Overall, the Muslim community in Philadelphia is dynamic and engaged, contributing to the city's rich cultural mosaic and actively participating in its civic and community life. Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel said 2 groups of young people started shooting at one another for reasons that remain under investigation. Like I said earlier, 2 people were shot in a crossfire, a 22-year-old man in the stomach and a 15-year-old boy in the hand, while another teen was shot by a responding officer, Bethel said. All were reported to be in stable condition. Police officers working security at the event in the Parkside section of the city were ticketing cars nearby when shots erupted, he said. Rushing toward the sound of gunfire, police apprehended 3 males and a female who they said were running from the scene armed with guns. Those 4 people, the 21-year-old, the 2 16-year-olds, and the 15-year-old, were taken into custody. A responding officer, like I said earlier, also shot a 15-year-old who was holding a gun, striking him in the shoulder and the leg. The gun ended up being a long rifle. Bethel said the teen did not shoot at the officers and declined to share more on the exchange, citing the ongoing investigation. In all, police recovered 5 guns at the scene, 4 handguns, and a long rifle, according to police sources with knowledge of the case. Police blamed the culture of youth gun violence for disrupting an otherwise peaceful celebration and said the groups were not representative of the event-goers as a whole. 99% of the individuals at this event are good people who wanted to have a good time, he said, and once again, we have young people engaging in gunfire who just really destroyed the sanctity of what happened.
And remember, they are our children. But the reality is this: there's some very, very deep fault lines that separate us. When you have fault lines, and they get bigger and bigger. Any movement creates an earthquake. And I think we have seen the earthquake. As a matter of fact, we experienced one last week. But at the same time, we are still standing here today. So let me just respond and just say this, because we don't want to be too long. The media is here, and the media responds to the chalk line. Whenever there's a chalk line somewhere, they come. They'll respond to the police tape line around a crime scene. And the reality is this: there are other lines that are being ignored, because what produced what happened is the result of red lines. It's the result of the pipeline. It's the result of the welfare line. And the welfare line is generated by not having access to adequate education, to equitable education, not having access to employment. So all these lines exist. And we are here today to let you know that we are not going to be satisfied with just making some statements and then leaving, because we can't fulfill what we have to do with some words. So in order for us to really begin to get to work, because everybody has to put their name on the bottom line. Yes. But the reality is that we all have to now come together and begin to fill in the fault lines. Add what you can, add what you know you have to add to fill in the gaps so that our youth can have access to us. Because they look at us and we are too distant from them. Yes. We are in, some people say we're in silos, but some of us are in containment vessels. Yes. You know, where our fuel is all spent and we are just in a situation where we have nothing of value to add.
And festivities called Eid Al-Fitr. This is why we are here today. This is not a political gathering. This is not a social activist gathering. This is for us to bring the necessary healing to our community. The people that we called out today, we called them out to come here to show their support with their presence. We don't necessarily need their voices today, but we understand that there are certain voices that we do need. It would be disrespectful for us to have our commissioner here and our commissioner don't speak to us. It would be disrespectful for us to have our commissioner here, and if he wanted to say a few words, that he would say a few words. It would be disrespectful to have our district attorney here, and for him, if he wants to say a few words, he can say a few words. But we don't want nothing highlighted here but the religious and spiritual reality of Eid Al-Fitr. And nothing supersedes that. As I said, Allah is bigger, Allah is greater, Allah is more significant, Allah is more important than what? Than everything. So today,
we believe that 3 people were brought here to Penn Presbyterian for injuries. 2 people initially, and then police said later a juvenile showed up here at the hospital. They had been shot in the hand. We do know tonight one of those victims has been identified by their father. Take a look. His name is Nashawn Tawfiq Richards. He's in his early 20s. I spoke to his dad as he left the hospital a short time ago. He said his son was shot in the abdomen, but he is alert and he's responsive, and he will likely need surgery.
This was an event, this was for the Eid, and I don't appreciate everything that happened or whatever. My son was an innocent bystander. You got thousands of people just at a Muslim gathering. Could have been any type of gathering for, you know, Muslims, Christians, Catholics, or whatever. This is supposed to be a safe haven and people to feel safe. And I'm just tired of all the violence and the nonsense that's going on.
Yeah, you can hear the distress and the emotion in his voice, calling on the community to, quote, do better when we spoke there. Now, earlier in the day, we saw a lot more activity here outside the hospital, including one woman who was hobbling into the ER being held up by 2 other people. And we also saw family and friends gathering outside here. But at this point, a lot of those people have left the area, as have police.
This story is still developing, and I will be sure to bring any updates as they come. Thanks for watching American Confidential, and until next time, be safe.
I pay attention to all the affairs of the Muslims. It doesn't matter what country it is, because I love the Muslims. Philadelphia is one of the most sought after, predominantly Muslim states in the United States of America. And right now, Philly is like the murder capital of the United States of America. And the majority of the crimes are being committed by Muslims, and the victims of these crimes are Muslims. But now these communities are being divided by gangs, Muslim gangs. What to be like? Explain to me, my dear brothers, how can a person have an allegiance to Allah and His Messenger and then have an allegiance to something else that is in complete opposition of Allah and His Messenger? It's impossible. How could one have an allegiance to Allah and His Messenger and at the same breath you claim a sect, you claim a street, you claim a color of a rag? Somewhere down the line you're going to have conflict. Somewhere down the line you're going to have a discrepancy between one of these two allegiances. And when that time comes, you're going to have to pick a side. You're going to have to pick a side.